Hello and welcome to Tuesday at 12 on Tuesday, the 5th of August. My name is Catherine Lammas and I'm the lead coach at Lammas Success Coaching. So what is Tuesday at 12? Well, as we explained in our first session last week, it was really creative as a journey both for me in my own self-development and also as a way to help other people who might want to look at their own self-development but perhaps don't want to do sessions one-to-one, or maybe they're not sure whether they want to invest in coaching sessions, for example, until they've tried it out. So that's the main two reasons why I set up this idea. First of all, to help other people, and primarily and perhaps selfishly to start to help myself. I had a fairly recent diagnosis of autism, and I'm finding that if I'm able to explore challenges that I face and I'm able to explain it to other people, it helps me to understand those challenges and hopefully overcome some of them, but also it helps other people too. So we are based in Sandgate, which is on the south coast of England in Kent. And we have a small shop that you can see down there, from which I do some of my coaching workshops and one-to-one sessions. So let's get back to Tuesday at 12 and what this is about. So every Tuesday we meet, and the hourly session is split into 4 parts. The first segment is looking at a review of last week. What went well for you? What were your biggest challenges? What tripped you up? And what might you have done differently? What have you learned from how you tried things out last week? And we start thinking about what you want to achieve in the coming week. Then in the second segment, we look at our topic for the week. And this week, we're going to look at the topic of stress. And it's based on this fabulous book called Unstressable. And I'll tell you a bit more about that shortly. The third part, of course, is the all-important silent coaching portion of the session. So that's when all you're going to need is a pen and some paper. And I'm going to guide you through a series of questions to help you think about what you might want to change, to help you come up with options of how you might do that, and then eventually a plan of what you'll actually do to make those changes. So again, more about that later. And then finally, we always end the session to talk about what's coming up for you in the coming week, and how you're feeling at the end. So how you feel differently at the end than you do at the start now. And all we ask of you, these sessions are completely free. It's not just that's just not just marketing flannel. It is a fact. But we do ask you to sign up to our values, our agreed behaviours in these sessions. And that's not because we want to sound heavy about it. We want everyone to feel really comfortable and to be able to be themselves and be honest and get what they need to get out of these sessions. So our 4 values, perhaps not unsurprisingly, are: we ask people to respect each other, be courteous to people. We take a lot of pride in the work we do, and we have a very strong work ethic, and we hope that will be seen by our customers, by our community. We are very strong on ensuring that everyone is welcome to these sessions, that everybody must feel they can be themselves without any judgment at all. That's very important to us. And finally, we endeavour to support everybody wherever we can. So if there's something, you have a question after today, or you would like more information about something, I would really encourage you to contact us. And the contact details will be later in the slides. So all you're going to need later, perhaps now if you want to take a few notes, is a pen and a piece of paper, and that's it. I strongly advise you to, of course, turn the machine off so that it's not distracting you. And this, is your time. It's time to tune in, to relax and settle into what you want. So here's our agenda for today. To recap, we're going to look at what happened last week. We're going to then talk about this week's topic, which is stress-free living. And I have called it part 1 because there's so much good stuff in this book. I'm probably going to do another session next week to get through it all. So that's our topic for today. Then we'll go into our silent coaching session. That is entirely up to you what you look at in that session. And then finally, we'll review today and get a little plan for you together for next week. So let's start then. Part one. What happened last week? So it's always a good idea, I think, to start with how you're feeling in any session that you do. Start to off by just taking a minute to sort of ground yourself and say, perhaps, what do I want to get out of this session today? You know, why are you here? What do you want to achieve? And perhaps think about how you're feeling at this moment in time. So if this is your first Tuesday at 12, maybe your first training/coaching session online, you might be feeling a bit anxious, or you might be feeling a bit curious. So have a look at the wheel here, often used by therapists and as coaches as well, and just try and gauge where you are on there. I would say I'm probably a little bit anxious because it's always a bit of nerves when you're delivering a presentation. But also, I'm excited because I know how powerful coaching is, and I always get heaps of benefits out of doing it. So, what brings you here today? Do you want to learn something about yourself? Do you want help with something? Are you just curious as to what silent coaching is? Maybe you've never heard of it. I wouldn't be surprised it's not talked about that much, even in coaching circles. So the next question I want to ask you is, what went well for you last week? Just have a think about that, and I'll do the same and then share with you what went well for me. So maybe note it down. What went well for you last week? Doesn't have to be something big, you know, you don't have to say, well, I won a TV award. It doesn't have to, it can be something very, very tiny that somebody did something nice for you, or you did something nice for yourself. So what went well? There will be something, even if you had a nightmare of a week. So for me, if you remember last week's silent coaching session, my topic last week, because remember, I coach myself as I'm coaching you, I'm doing the same process for me. My topic was to improve the quality of my sleep. As an autistic person, I don't sleep well. I haven't done for many years, and it is quite common for people in my community, autistic people, to have that, just the way our brains are wired, how they work. So I wanted to do everything I could to improve on that. So I coached myself, and just going back to my notes here, one of the options I came up with in trying to achieve this better sleep was to go to bed and get up at a set time. And I set myself a little action plan to do that. So I started getting ready for bed every night last week at 9:30, and I was asleep by 10:30 every night. Okay, I didn't. I planned to get up at 7:30 every morning. I did wake up a lot earlier a lot of the time. But when I checked out my little Fitbit machine here, I've been getting much better quality sleep. I have been getting 7 hours a night now for 4 or 5 nights in a row. That's unheard of for me. So I think I've proved there that even the smallest changes can make a massive difference. So what went well, first of all, then for you last week? Maybe you were on the session. Have a think about what you did achieve. And then flip it over and think about what were the biggest challenges that tripped you up? What stopped you from achieving those things? What stopped you from perhaps getting it as good as you wanted it to be? For me, my biggest challenge was my continuing back pain. I've had back pain now for nearly 2 weeks, ongoing health issue for many years. So I think that's my biggest challenge at the moment. I'm getting this great sleep, but it is still waking me up quite early in the morning. Now think what you might want to look at for yourself in the coming week. What area of your life, relationships, finances, whatever, health, diet, what area of your life might you want to look at in the coming week? Just don't think about the detail, just think generally about something that might be getting in your way of being happy at the moment. Just put it in the back of just think it, and it goes in the back storage room there just while we carry on talking about something else. So what's the area, the topic that you want to look at this week? And then finally, back to feelings. We're going to talk about feelings a lot today. It's all about feelings. We all want to feel happy, don't we, at the end of the day? So, what do you want to feel like when I see you next Tuesday? So, in 7 days' time, exactly, what do you want to feel like when you see me again? Okay. So, just leave those questions hanging there while we talk about our topic for today, which is stress-free living. And yes, it is possible because these guys are doing it. And I think many more, perhaps millions of people that follow their advice are doing it. It's not easy, not magic wand, it's not a quick fix, but it is possible. And I'm going to tell you what they say. So there they are. Two people with not just professional knowledge in this area, but lots of lived experience. And I can't go into their stories. If you're really interested in it, I recommend, read the book. But they have not had easy times of it, I promise you. So if these guys can do it, I think what I'm saying is the potential is there for all of us. And what they say is stress is predictable. So therefore, if it's predictable, you can prevent it. If you know something's coming, you can put things in its way to stop it getting you, so to speak. And what I love about this book is that it gives you lots and lots of practical exercises. I'm very pragmatic. I like to get on with stuff. I don't like talking about it forever. You wouldn't think that, would you? I'm a trainer, but I like things that you can crack on and action and see changes happening. So they give us all these practical exercises. I'm going to share a couple of them with you today. But what I love about it is they're not just influencers or they're coming up with their own theory. These things are backed by years of neuroscience and psychology, proper research, tried and tested. So you're stressed, aren't you? Yes, you are. You're stressed, I'm afraid, because you live in this modern world. Not all the events in our lives stress us, but it's the way that we deal with them that does. So it's not the event itself, it's how you internalize it, how you deal with it. So one person can deal with something incredibly stressful and another person just falls to pieces. One person can be affected by something seemingly very small and have a really bad effect on them. Another person, water off a duck's back. So it's how we as humans deal with this stuff. But I can tell you the research is very clear now that if you allow yourself or your stress to go unchecked, it will get you like a disease. So a lot of us, we're wandering around our lives, we're on this smartphone, scrolling social media, whatever we're doing, and a lot of us are just comfortably numb, they say. We're just ticking along. So it's getting us, it's going down. The stress is getting us, it's going down. And we're doing okay. We're coping. We're not perhaps thriving, but we're coping. We're mucking along nicely. But because stress is predictable, we can get better than that. we can prevent it getting us in the first place. So we're not just ticking along, we're actually getting the very most out of us and out of our lives. And if that's what you want, and I'm sure we all want that, you've got to make that promise to yourself now that you're going to do whatever you can to make your life stress free. And not to say stress free, not less stressful, stress free. It's a massive commitment, but you're worth it. So perhaps just put that seed into your mind that you want this, you're going to do it. So before I can go and tell you all about these wonderful exercises and how it all works, we've got to get back to the basics. So it's very difficult to change anything and take action if you don't know what it's about. Knowledge is power, as they say. You've got to understand something before you can change it. So to fix a machine, to fix a car, you've got to understand how it works. So it's the same for our bodies. It's the same for how we work. You can't fix you if you don't understand how you work. So we're going to look at that. If you run your mind and your body well, it will serve you well. If you let it go, run down, and you treat it badly, it'll get you in the end. It will break you down. So a bit of stress is good for you. I'm not saying all stress is bad. A little bit is good. This stuff I do online is pretty stressful because I don't know who's listening. I don't know who's judging. I don't know anything. So it can be a bit nervy, but it's good stress. For me, it gives me motivation. It gives me the will to want to improve it, the will to want to help more people, and the motivation to help myself. So I take that stress. It's good for me. I find it exciting, actually. And stress is a biological response. If you didn't have stress, as humans, we wouldn't exist because stress is the stuff that pumps the adrenaline and makes us run away from the guy with the knife or the gun. It's a survival response. So you've got to see it as a friend and not just a foe. The problem with modern day stress is that it starts with a little niggly thought. And if you don't sort out that little niggly thought, it lingers as long as that thought remains and it gets dug in and it can really cause havoc in your body and in your mind. So the capacity for stress, and this is very interesting, is limited only to your capacity to think negatively. So I'll say that again because this point I think is really important. How stressed you are really depends on how much you think negatively. So that's saying to me, first of all, you've got to find out how much of your thoughts are negative and how many are positive. Because if you don't know that, you don't know what you're dealing with. So just park that for a minute. And often you're not even aware. You get in such a loop that you don't even know why you're stressed in the first place. It's almost like you can sometimes practice these things for years and it becomes hardwired. So that sounds pretty scary and pretty dangerous. But the good thing is, machines can be fixed, and we're machines. We are feeling creatures who think, not thinking creatures who feel. This one I had to think about a lot myself. And it's that thing where you feel something before you think about it. The feelings, the emotions in human beings come first. So take my back pain. I feel it. And then I start having the negative thoughts that I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to go to dance class again. I'm not going to be able to do Zumba anymore. It's not the other way round. I don't sit there and think it all through and then have the feelings. So feelings are really powerful. We've got to be aware of them. And if we're not aware of them, if we don't get to grips with this stuff can hang around for a long time. It might start off feeling a bit stressed about something for a couple of days. Before you know that can turn into months and years. And even sadly, for some people, it can turn into a lifetime of stressful misery. So Too much of anything is bad for you. It's all about getting the balance right. And cortisol is the enemy here. Stress creates that chemical, cortisol, that courses around your body that makes you feel anxious. And if you have too much of that circling around, it will literally kill you. So you've got to get on top of that if you want to stay on this planet for a long, healthy, happy time. And we feel less stressed when we start to deal with it. So it's the action bit, I suppose, of the coaching hopefully will help you here, because stress starts to dissipate when we learn the skills to deal with it, when we learn skills to handle pressure, to think positively, to feel calmer, to get things in perspective and in balance. These are all skills that can be learned, like most skills in our life. So just to reiterate, it's not the what happens to you in your life necessarily that stresses you, it's the way you deal with it. So some people deal with a very stressful event really well and others don't. So you've got to learn how you deal with it. Good news though, living stress free is firmly within your gift. You've got the capacity as a human being to do it. And you can probably see from the earlier slides, our logo for our business is a jellyfish. You might think strange logo, jellyfish for a coaching company, but I think it symbolizes what we do perfectly, because the jellyfish are all about vulnerability, about not trying to fight things, go with the flow, adapt to your environment. Jellyfish are strong creatures. They are very flexible. They don't let the environment kill them. They will adapt to it so that they thrive and survive. So the important thing here is to take the stress. You can't avoid the terrible stuff that's going on in the world. Sadly, there's probably nothing you can do about it. But what you can do is learn how to bounce back from the difficulties we all suffer in life and release that tension. Be more like the jellyfish. So let's get into the detail a bit more about this stuff and how it all works and what you can do about it. You know, there's that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And in terms of stress, that can be very true. Extreme stressors can make you stronger when you process it and come out the other end. People that have suffered in terribly traumatic events can often, possibly after years of therapy and support, come out of the other side stronger people. It almost makes them who they are. And also, it doesn't necessarily need to be a big event. Lots of little stressors can build up and eventually tip the balance. That's the straw that broke the camel's back saying. So beware those little critters that build up and get around you without you even noticing. You've got to keep stress to manageable levels for you. And often we create the stress ourselves. It's not there because we start worrying about what's in the future. You know, I'm guilty. I'm already worrying this morning when I woke up about what if I need to use crutches again to be able to walk? No evidence that I'll need that, but I'm going to that worst case scenario. You know, I look on Facebook groups that I'm on to advertise my business primarily, and I see people saying they're worried about the next world war. Well, we're not actually there yet. We're lucky where we are. So often what we're stressing about is what we fear might happen in the future. We don't know for sure that it will. So just hold that thought as well. Good ways to deal with worry and fear if you have those kind of thoughts are gather the facts first of all. Is it really true, this concern that you've got? Is it really likely to happen? If something's scaring you, don't let your brain exaggerate it out of all proportion. Be careful what you listen to online because it's there to frighten you. They want that fear reaction because then you keep engaging. So don't let your brain exaggerate things. Focus on your ability to deal with it. Remember what we just said before. The biggest weapon against stress is do something about it. So do something practical, talk to somebody, do some research, do some meditate, do something. Don't just sit in it. And do what you need to do to limit the stresses in you that you face every day. The little ones, get rid of them. So if it's social media that's stressing you out, get rid of it as much as you possibly can. I know it's very difficult in this world, but it is possible. I very rarely look at mine, very rarely under strict parameters now do I look at social media, and I definitely never ever look at it until I've been up out of bed for at least an hour and done my morning routine, which I'm going to tell you about later. So maybe do a list of them first because you can't deal with something if you don't understand it. What are your stresses? What can you do practically to start ticking them off? Get them out of your life or turn them down, reduce them. So, very importantly, if you want to change something and be happier, you've got to commit to practicing the habits. So, with any skill that you want to learn, you've got to commit to the time and the place when you're going to do it every single day. A lot of stress is preventable. So you've got to also, as well as committing, you've got to make that choice in your mind. So you've got to choose to not have it in your life. I choose now to try to get better at dealing with anxiety and stress. I am making that my number one goal in my life because it's tripped me up so many times. So that is my choice. That is my prerogative to choose that. And I'm spending my spare time doing that. So maybe you need to make that choice. You don't have to do it. You can do nothing. You've always got the choice of do nothing, as you'll see later in the coaching. And I can tell you there's some comfort in knowing that billions of people in this world share your trauma. We've all had trauma. Some people are still in trauma, but a lot of people have survived trauma, and that means you can recover from it as well. It's all possible if you commit and you choose to do it. So let's talk a little bit about thoughts and obsessions because these, as we say, are the little critters, the thoughts that get in your mind and the things you get obsessed about, or the people you get obsessed about, the issues you get obsessed about. This is what really starts to be these little stresses that build up. So we stress about things often that are never likely to happen. So think about what you're stressing about. Is it likely to happen? We are limited by what our own imagination tells us. So if you've got a vivid imagination, it's probably not an advantage because it's going to trigger more obsessions. Oh, that could happen. That could happen. What if this happens? What if a submarine comes up the English Channel and starts sending off rockets? You know, all those crazy imagination things start to dig into your brain. Obsessions eventually will become real, like a monster, if you don't sort them out. They start to become part of us. They start to almost become true. We start to believe the drama that we're creating around ourselves. And perhaps it's not even happening. It's just happening in here. And then we get depressed often about what we think the world is giving us. We start to feel sorry for ourselves. We start to feel that things are unfairly done to us. But what we have to look at is what the world actually does give us. So in the Western world, certainly, we're much, much better off than most people on the rest of this planet. So we need to start thinking about what we've actually got on what we could, opportunities we have, rather than getting depressed about what we haven't got, because it will become an obsession and it will eat you in the end. So limit your stresses, regardless of how resilient you are. And I know some people who are very resilient, often that one little straw that broke the camel's back can tip them. And everybody will get everybody in the end. So be aware of them, limit them. If you can't stop them, if you can't stop seeing that relative that drives you bananas, limit how much you have them in your life. Perhaps change how you interact with them. But ones that you can get rid of, stresses that you can completely obliterate, like maybe Facebook, just delete it. Scary thought, I know, but I tell you what, it's so liberating. Or reduce its intensity. There's an interesting clip on a program on TV this morning, a professor of algorithms and social media experts, and she said, grayscale your screen on your phone because it makes it less attractive to look at, and therefore you're less likely to pick it up. So use all these little tricks and tips, try them out, see if they work for you. I've done it on mine, and it certainly doesn't make it look as attractive to look at. And let's see in time, it might stop me using it as much. So be aware of those little negative niggles that get into you. Oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, I'm not as good as them. They're little negative things, but they will start to chip away if they're not objective, if they're just things you're making up in your head. And never, ever, and this is really important, if you listen to nothing else that I say today on this call, never, ever make a comment to yourself internally that you would not make to someone you love. So don't say horrible things to yourself in your head. It's really, really bad for you. Only say gentle, kind things to yourself. So be aware of that. And finally, you can't control the outside world. You can't do anything about the wars, other people. You can't do anything about the success of your friends or social media influencers. You can't do anything about somebody else's behavior, even your own kids. You can't. But what you can do, you can regulate your inside world. You can 100% control what you do. And there are some fabulous examples of human beings that have overcome the most incredible things that prove that you can do that. So, top tip for this week. The one that I've tried out, and it is brilliant, and it has helped me with my sleeping. As I say, I'm 5 days in a row now, over 7 hours sleep, getting better deep sleep, as I tells me on the Fitbit, and I feel psychologically much, much better. And all I've done is this simple morning routine for 15 minutes and an easy evening routine for 10 minutes. So there's about 7 steps in each of these. And I would say try every single day, commit, make that promise to yourself, and do it for 30 days and see how you feel at the end. I'm doing it. I think I'm on about day 10 now, and it's going well. I'm going to keep going. I'm not giving it up, even if I have a day when I have a bit of a blip. So if you want it, I haven't got time to do the full detail here. So it's things like journaling and when you go on your social media and writing down gratitude and things like that. But if you want the step by step, let me know and I'll send you it on a PDF or on a Word document or something. So the main meat of today's session, which is, of course, silent coaching. So all you are going to need now is pen and a piece of paper. So if you haven't got that, I'm going to give you a second to go and grab it, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you've got your pen and paper, maybe a glass of water if you need it. And all I want you to do here is relax, listen to my questions, and in the moments of silence, which we're going to have, a lovely, hopefully silence, and not too many seagulls squawks out there, we're going to have our chance now to think and write down our answers to see what we want to come up with as our action plan for this week. So all I want you to do is think of an area of your life that you want to work on. So it's likely something that is a concern for you now, something you want to improve or change. Think of it generally to start with. Don't be too specific at this stage. Just think of the topic. Maybe it's to do with healthy eating or time management, something like that. So just generally get fitter, be happier, better relationships, more money, those kind of things. But it's got to be something that really matters to you, something that's really important, and it's got to be something that you've got a degree of control over. So don't put anything like you want your kids to do the homework on time. You cannot, as we said before, you cannot control the outside world and other people. You can't. You can influence them, but you cannot make somebody do something. But what you can do is you can do it for yourself. So this is all about you. And think about something that you want to achieve fairly quickly, maybe hopefully the next week. So now I want you to write that thing down in one sentence. So your sentence will say something like, my topic is whatever, and I want to whatever it is. So let me give you my example because I'm coaching myself, by the way, as I coach you. So my topic is back health. I have an ongoing problem with spinal stenosis, very common, I think, particularly in people my age. So my topic is back health. I want to be pain free. So that's my topic. That's what I want. My ultimate goal is I want to get rid of my back pain. I've done it before, so I know it's possible. So what's yours? Write that down, please. My topic is general area, and then be very specific. What do you want? Write it down. Very, very important to write it down. Okay, now I want you to go forward to a time where everything is sorted. You've achieved it. Imagine you've done it. It's exactly as you want it to be. Everything's been resolved, 100% satisfied. So for me, I am pain free. No twinges, no nerve pain, pain free. Now write down the answers to these questions. What can you see happening around you that tells you that this issue's been resolved? What can you see happening that tells you that you've reached this goal, this target? So for me, what can I see happening that tells me I am pain free? Next question is, what are other people in your life saying to you now that you've achieved this? So think of the people close to you, think of the people maybe you work with. You've achieved this thing you want to change, you've reached this goal. What are other people saying because they've noticed a change? Write that down. What are people saying? Let's now think about feelings. You've achieved this thing, you've succeeded, you got there. How do you feel? How are you feeling now this issue's been resolved? Write down your feelings. And then finally, what benefits have you experienced? What benefits have you experienced now that you've reached this goal? So remember, we're thinking of you've done it, it's in the future. What benefits are you experiencing? Okay, put the pen down for a minute, take a deep breath, and now answer me this question. What would have happened if you had done nothing at all? So think about this future point in time. What would happen if you do nothing? Write that down, please. So we've looked at your goal today, where you want to get to. And now we're going to look at where you are now. So we want to get over here. We're clear about the benefits we're going to get if we get there. We're also clear if we don't do it, what's going to happen. But now we want to look at where we are now so that we can work out a plan to get to where we want to go. So hopefully it's logical. So I'd like you to answer and write down your answer to this question. What is happening now that tells you that this is an issue for you? What is happening now that tells you it's a concern? What's missing that you want? Trying to describe in detail the things that are missing. By the way, if some of these questions don't make sense, just wait for the next question. It's quite difficult for me not seeing you because when I'm coaching people face to face, I'm able to watch their reactions. I'm going off a lot of their body language. Yes, I'm watching how they're responding. And obviously, I can't do that with you. So sometimes a question might not what we call land, doesn't sort of make sense to the conversation. So with silent coaching, if this happens, don't worry, just wait for the next question that and pick it up from there. So these questions I'm asking now about what's missing, what do you want? Be very precise about what you want. Don't start thinking about whether or not you're going to get it and can have it. Be very clear about what you want. Again, important to write it down. What are you doing now that is contributing towards getting this goal? You know, you must be doing some things right. You're not doing everything wrong. It's never right and wrong, black and white. It's you're doing something, even if it's something small. So, what are you doing now that you'd like to sort of keep in this area? Something that's contributing already, or you might have a good habit in this area. So, write that down. What is that good stuff? Maybe think about something you've tried out before that worked in this area. So, what is it that has already worked and you want to carry on using? Again, be very specific in these areas. Try and not let yourself off the hook. Um, you know, if it was like, for example, coming back to my back, I've written down the very specific stretching and exercising things that I did every day that actually contributed towards me getting better last time. So record anything that you've done well, any good habits you have already, and then think what might have made the biggest difference to help you to succeed this time. Think back about before. What is the thing you're going to keep that might help you again this time to get your goal, to resolve the problem or the challenge? And then finally, in this segment, what are the biggest barriers that will prevent you getting this goal, achieving this? Write those down. What are the obstacles? What's preventing you, or who is preventing you from getting there? Write it down. Again, be very specific about this. Um, you know, if you're looking for a promotion, for example, at work, don't just put the obstacles my boss. What is it about your boss? Be specific. Is it because they won't let you go on a training course? Or is it because they don't listen to what you're saying? Or is it because they are prejudiced towards something? Be very specific about what that obstacle is so that we can get a plan to get you over that barrier. Think about any strengths you might have as well to get over these difficulties. Have you got resources in place already? Have you got people you could speak to? Have you got information or knowledge that you could use, skills that you could use? Have you got finance that you could use? What resources have you got in place already, support maybe, to deal with that problem or concern or goal? Okay, so now we know where you want to get to. We know where we are now. We've now got to look at and list all our options. So when I say list your options, what I want you to do is think about everything that you could do, not everything that you will do. That's really, really important that you make that differentiation. So everything that you could do, not everything you will do. Is like blue sky. There it is. Blue sky thinking. So if money was no object, what could you do? Do this is fairly quick fire, so don't let your brain start to curate this. Just write everything down, even if it sounds bonkers. Um, if you had all the time in the world to do it, what could you do? If you were answerable to nobody, you didn't have any caring responsibilities, no partners, nobody to answer to, no family, nothing, just you, what could you do? If you had total belief in yourself, 100% self-confident, what could you do? What would your best friend or partner tell you to do? What would they suggest? I've got about five on my list now. We're looking for a list at least seven things on, ideally. Um, what could you do if you weren't scared of anything? Just write down whatever comes in your head. What else could you do? What's missing? Try and think of at least two more ideas and write them down. So you should have a little list there now. And I want you to look at that list and ask yourself which idea looks the best? Which of those options looks the best to you? Perhaps put a little mark next to it. Which one's the easiest to do? Mark next to that. Which one's the quickest to do? I've got see a GP. That's definitely not that one. So put a little markers next to the ones, start whittling it down. And then I want you to commit to acting on one of them this week. So put a star next to that one, the one that you're going to commit to actually doing this week. So let's get a little action plan together to finish off. What do you need to do? What steps do you need to take? Specific action steps, baby steps to make this happen. So write those down. What do you need to actually do? What barriers are in the way? What might stop you from taking those actions? And how are you going to negotiate those barriers? How are you going to get around them or over them? And if at any time these seem too big, if you've not broken it down into very small baby steps, break it down further. So if it's a big action, like, I don't know, designing a website, maybe the first baby step is to look at different web designers or, get the contact details, whatever. So break it down if it looks too big. Also, think about who else you might get involved in these things. So, is there anything you can delegate? Is there somebody you can get support from? Somebody you need to talk to find the time to look after the kids, whatever. Again, think about those things that you need to involve others with. You might want to keep some of it, to yourself. You don't have to share all this. Remember, it's all totally confidential to you. You don't have to share it with anybody else. So, finally, I want you to write down on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm looking for you to write down a figure between one, where it's not a chance on earth that this is going to happen this week, to 10, I'm absolutely doing this. And in fact, I'm going to start it as soon as Catherine finishes this call. So please write down that figure from 1 to 10, the chances of you or your commitment to carrying this out. And think to yourself, if you carry it out, what will the benefits be to you? Who else will benefit if you do this? And how will you be feeling if you do this action or actions this week? How will you be feeling this time next week when I see you again, hopefully? So that's it. That's the end of the silent coaching part. So let's just quickly go through what's happening next week. So think about your how you're feeling now, perhaps compared to how you felt at the start of the session. Think about your top takeaways for this session. So maybe what are the top 3 things, maybe 2 things that you've learned from the topic that we talked about, and maybe 1 thing that you've learned about yourself. What have you learned about yourself during our time together today? And perhaps note those things down. And just to remind you, if you want that activity, if you want a full step by step of the simple morning routine, which takes about 15 minutes, and the easy evening routine, which takes about 10 minutes, if you want to commit to doing those, drop me an email now and I'll ping it straight back to you so that you've got a copy of it on a PDF, sort of a step by step guide to follow. So those are our 4 parts done. We reviewed last week. We looked at this week's topic, which was stress-free living, primarily using information from this book. We did our silent coaching, which is the meat of the online session, and then we quickly reviewed what we did and look forward to what we're doing next week. So feel free to contact me at any time. If you get stuck or you need me to answer any questions that you have, particularly in the silent coaching portion, if you would like to see my answers, I'm very happy to share how I recorded it. If it's not clear what was going on, please let me know and I'll send those to you. And if you have suggestions for topics or any suggestion at all for the future, please let us know. So thank you very much for coming. And I will just leave you with this final quote from a favourite of, I think he was a keen participant on the Oprah Winfrey show, Wayne Dyer. But his quote is, "You can't always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside." Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.